I put some beautiful keywords. And these are some of the ones we need to remember so that way we know what to do. And I'm going to add maybe a few more. Okay, so here we go. What does frequency mean?
How often?
How often, how many? This is like literally the back page of your back page of your packet. Page 44 of your packet. There you go. Back page of your packet. Just flip it all the way to the end. Boing. So how often? I need to blow this up. There we go. How often or how many? So for example, how many days the temperature was in a certain range? How many people have 6 dogs? You know what I mean? It's like, it's how many, it's a count. Okay. Okay. So then when we accumulate or accumulative, we accumulate the count, that means we're going to count to the total, like count, adding intervals. So we're accumulating to the last bar represents everyone. Okay. All data or the number n. All right, relative. Relative can be done as a percent or decimal, and it's part over whole, right? And this is like part divided by n. So your part could be like the number of things in that particular, the frequency of that bar. It could be the frequency of the first 3 bars together if you're accumulating, but basically we need to divide. Who remembers what an ogive is? Anyone? Okay, the ogive is the line graph on a cumulative histogram. We did it last week on Tuesday, which I know was a long time ago, and I was out for 2 days last week because my kid had wisdom teeth pulled. So like we've been like all over the place. Okay. So why do I bring these things up? Because these are like words and things you need to know for your quiz. Does that kind of make sense? All right. So if we go back to pages 18 and 19, I think 18 and 19. Yep. I believe it's like a full problem that we haven't done yet.
Yeah.
We haven't done any of it, right? Okay. So here we have, so this is like a good way to, so based on how we're feeling, do we need to do this problem together because we don't know what's going on? Like we need to review how to do a cumulative frequency histogram and an ogive? Yes? Okay. Here we go then. So here we have book spending. This data set is the amount in dollars people spent on books for a semester. Here we go. So this person spent $266. This person spent $199. So now we need to calculate the class width. Where can you find that formula, people? Class width. Is it on your reference sheet? The blue reference sheet. Yeah, it's on the blue reference sheet. And it says class width is max minus min divided by the number of classes. And then we need to remember that we always need to round up. All right. So let's identify the maximum and the minimum from the set of data. Can we find, I see a minimum of 30. I feel like we've done this data before. We're doing it again. 30, and the high was 530. I remember this one, right? So 30 and 530, and then it says number of classes 6. So you will have, like it was on the histogram practice worksheet, a single question that says, here's the max, here's the min, and here's I want 8 classes, make me the classes, okay? So 530 minus 30 divided by 6. Is this the one where we get like 54.8 or something like that? 58.3. Somebody remind me. So what did you get when you divided? You got 83.33. 83.333. Thank you. Okay. So we get a number that we write down that answer is, right? Then we're going to say, hey, what's our width going to be? Our width is going to be 84. All right. So everybody has to be able to do that calculation with the formula. The formula's on your reference sheet. Next. Now we need to create the classes. So what's the first number in the first class? 30, because you have to include the smallest number, right? Okay. So this is how we're going to get classes right. These are intervals, the way the groups, the bars are, they're bins. So here's the first bar, starts at 30. I need to use the 84. Do I add 84 and put that total here? No. I go this way. I add 84. I get 114. And then that means this bar ends at 113. Can you guys finish making your classes? Because I can give you the frequency. You don't have to waste your time figuring out the frequency. We might have it somewhere in our packet even, but I will just tell you what it is. 18, and there it is. So we have. How do I end the last bar? Who remembers how? What do I do? I add the next 84. I get 534, right? And then I subtract 1. 533. And then I should just ask myself, does the lowest number fit in a bar? Yep. Does the highest number fit in a bar? Yep. I'm good to go. Everybody good on that skill? If you're not, you can ask me while I watch the rest of the movie. Great. So you're not going to have to sort data on your quiz. Does that make sense to everybody? So here's your data. It's 5, 7, 8, 2, 3, 4. Okay. So that means there are 8 students who spent between $198 and $281 on books. If I add up these numbers, what information do I get from that if I add these numbers up? I get the number 29, but what the heck does that mean? What are we counting? So this over here, what is 282? Is that people? Is that inches? Is it? It's a mice. It's money spent, right? Dollars spent on books, right? What is this then? People, right? This is our students. So how many students did they talk to? They talked to a total of 29 students. So when I go to do cumulative frequency, right? Guess what this bottom number needs to be? 29. Because everyone is going to be in the last bar. Does that make sense? We're stacking them on. Okay, so How many people are in the first bar? Just 5, because you haven't accumulated yet. You had 30 to 113. The second bar is going to be how many people spent between 30 and 197. So what are we going to do with these two numbers? Add them together, and we get 12. Now the next bar, we accumulate everybody from 30 all the way to 281. How many people do we have now? 20. Great. How many people have spent up to 365? 22. How many have spent up to 449? Holy bananas, that's a lot of money. 25. And then everyone is represented between 30 and 533. Good? Okay, so now, here we go. Relative. Relative means relative to the whole. So part divided by whole. So we have to then pay attention to the second word. It says relative cumulative frequency. So we're not going to do like 8 divided by 29 because this is not the cumulative frequency, right? We're going to do 20 divided by 29 to fill in these, okay? And you're going to do them as decimals, and this is going to be 1.00, right? 29 divided by 29. So the first one is going to be 5 divided by 29. The second one's going to be 12 divided by 29, etc. So can you guys fill in that bar?
Miss Rob.
Yes.
My hall passes are working. Would you ever make me a pin?
Yes. Where to?
Just a minute.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yep. Yes. Try rebooting your whole computer if you haven't yet. Yeah. If you're having trouble with your computer, reboot it completely. Like shut it down, and then give it a second, turn it on, and we go dashboard, teacher pass. Here you go, dude.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right. All right, so now we got 0.17. Hello.
Hi.
How are you? Good. Yeah, 0.86. All right. Right, so if you divided all those, and I know some of you already did, some of you are still catching up. Eva, you left this last class. Remember you asked for a new packet?
Thank you.
Yeah, so we're on pages 18 and 19. We did the back page. All right. So you might then want to like kind of have your paper open like this, right? So you can use the graph paper and the table together. Are people ready to go? Okay. So then this is the deal. On your quiz, you're going to get these two columns already done for you, and the next column would be blank. Does that make sense to everybody? And it will say do the cumulative frequency, I believe. So now when we turn the page, it asks us to make a cumulative frequency histogram. So is the word relative right here? The word relative right here? No. So that means earbud away, because I hope it's not hooked up to anything. We're using the numbers 0 through 29 over here, not 0 to 1. This is not percentage over here. Okay, so we got to set up our axes. So as a reminder, when we're making graphs, we're going to go title, tick, tick, label, label, label. So let's start off with some of our labels. So this first axis, we know we're going to need a break in it. And we go across, blue on blue, not so hot. Let's try red. And you can use your straight edge, or you can just go carefully. And then you should try to figure out how wide your bars can be to fit nicely. 2 works, so does 3. So, but on your quiz, I think it will be a width of 2. If you push too far to the right, you're going to fall off the grid. So make sure you fit on the grid. Your heartbeat doesn't need to be bigger than like 1 box wide. Okay, so here we go. We mark off our axis every 2 boxes. So this is part of that tick-tick idea. And then you label your axis with the lower bound of every interval. And this is money spent on books. In dollars. Okay, so I've done a label, I've done tick tick. I now can go to my second axis. Now my second axis is going to be cumulative frequency, because I've been asked to make a cumulative frequency histogram. So you want to just make sure you're really thinking about what cumulative frequency is. So we have cumulative frequency, but it's also the number of students. And this one, we need to go, how high? We need to go all the way to 29, right? So we might need to go to 30. It's easy enough to figure out. So we draw on our axis and figure out how we can count to 30. Okay. 0, it does need to be at the bottom. We don't skip for this. We don't do a break on this type of graph. Oops. Hello. Yes, was there a pass? Oh, it's in the system now. Okay, never mind. Yeah, she made it. Thank you. Bye. Okay. All right. Groovy. All right, here we go. All right, so we need to get up to 29. So did anybody find a good way to skip count? We could do 3s, 5s. I like counting by 5s. Did you make every line 5, or did you go every other line 5? Every other line 5. I like 10s. 10s are nice. 5s, 10s. Just kind of depends. You could totally, if you did 3s, I wouldn't label every line. But you totally could. You could go 3, 6, 9. So you could label 6 and 12. Does that make sense? Yeah. Yeah. That would be totally acceptable as well. All right. All right, and now you're just going to go ahead and you make your bars based on our table that we have. No, blue on blue is not going to work. I guess I'll keep going in red. There we go. Because you're accumulating, right? So that's always going to be increasing from left to right. And I'm estimating where 22 is. It's not going to be perfect. And then I'm not going to candy stripe mine. You can, but then if you do candy stripe, then you might want to do the next step in a different color. So your quiz is going to say make an ogive. Okay. And then you can make an ogive without the cumulative frequency histogram underneath. I typically always put the cumulative frequency histogram underneath because I think it's easier. Okay. So remember that an ogive is a line graph that starts at the beginning and goes to the end. So if we think about where we begin, we have to start with $30 is essentially 0 students. It's really 1 student, but we just put it at 0. And then we end at the end of the last bar. So we're up here. This is our last point. And so the thing that where kids make mistakes is, where do I put the points in between that? It's at the end of each bar. So when I get to 113, I'm up at 5 students. When I get to 197, I'm up at 12 students. Okay, so it's always at the end of the bar. The only point that's at the beginning of the bar is your first point because you have to start somewhere. And then you would use your straight edge to connect these. Doink, doink. And then you kind of say to yourself, why do I care about this? Well, because now I can say, use percentages and talk about what percent of kids spend so much on books. So we're going to make an axis at this end where up here is going to be 1.00, right? That's 100%. So notice that I am in between, right? I'm not on the 30 line. I'm on like the 29 line. So we're going to just do some estimating. This is going to be our relative cumulative frequency. Okay. And so the nice thing about this, really you only need like 2 or 3 other markings on here to make it worth your while. I'm going to put 0 down here. I can estimate where 50% is going to be. So if 15 is half of 30, half of 29 is 14.5. So this is going to be my 0.50 line. I can also estimate where 75% is going to be. So it's halfway between here and here. I'm going to eyeball it because I'm crazy like that. And I'm going to do that. Same thing here. I'm going to eyeball it about here. So I'm just breaking that line up into quarters, right? That's all I'm doing. And then the last thing I can say is then I could be like, oh, well, 75%. 75% of students, I hit the line right around here. They spend, around at least $300 on books. I can make like a very vague approximation statement. It's not going to be super accurate, but to know that I might need at least $350 for books, mom and dad, is a good thing to know. Right? Some colleges and scholarships provide money for books, some of them don't. There's room, there's board, and then there's everything else. So it's not a cheap endeavor, but can be done. Yes. Yes. Okay. So that's all I have for instructional purposes for today.